Hey guys, this is Nicole Papastavrou from Kallias, and you're listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Sunny here with a brand new episode of Interview Under Fire. Nicole Papastavrou, thank you so much for joining our podcast today on IUF. An important yet exciting time of the year for you guys over at Kallias with the release of your brand new EP, the fourth phase, which recently dropped October 30th. It's already been over a week almost, and it's on all streaming services and platforms. First off, congratulations on all of the well-deserved recognition it's been getting so far. Shout outs to Metal Injection and Metal Sucks for the praises you guys have been getting. Before we get to all that, I'm going to ask a very important question to start things off. It's a very simple one, but I think it's an important one to ask considering where we are at our lives at this point. How are you, Nicole? How have things been for you and the band as of late? How's life in California right now?
I'm doing great, and I'm hanging in there just like everybody else. And just like a lot of bands right now, we're doing everything we can to stay afloat and put out new music and keep people interested, seeing as we are a new band. So it's a little bit harder, it's a little bit more work for us, but we're all on board to putting in that work. And we just want to get this thing out there, and we want people to hear it, and we want feedback. And we're already writing for the next record, so we're keeping busy.
That's exciting stuff already. Like when I heard this album, now you're talking about new stuff like already coming up. That's already good things. I want to rewind the clock here a little bit. The story of Kallias between you, Zachy, JP, and Chris. And I know chemistry is something that is very important to you guys, and everything just kind of just clicked between the four of you. And I know it started off with, I think there's a story about you just wanting to jam with the drummer, and you guys ran into each other and Nam, and the rest is just history, right? How did that all come about?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I stumbled across JP because a friend connected me with a local drummer. And I was kind of checking him out before I hit him up, and just like watching his videos online. And then that's when I noticed he was playing with another 8-string player. And I kind of just like gave up for a while on looking for another 8-string player to jam with, because it just seemed like everybody is just either like in a serious band already, or nobody plays 8-string, and the previous band that I was in, another like instrumental prog band, it was always just me on guitar. So, and we never played live, and some of these layers, and it was just like a recording project. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to play all of this by myself live, and there's going to be a shit ton of backing tracks.
Yeah.
So, when I discovered JP, and then soon thereafter Zachy, I had to have that conversation with Zachy, like, yo, like what are you doing? Like we got to do something together. So we got on that same page, and he told me he had been jamming with JP. He had a couple like instrumental, like prog songs, and it was totally in the vein of like what I was doing myself. So I feel like I had finally like met my match, and then like also met my dream drummer to jam with too. And I pulled my bass player that I had been playing with for like 7 years in other projects as well. And I knew he was going to be stoked about, this new endeavor. So that's how everything kind of came about.
Speaking of like jamming with the four of you all together, and obviously that already sounds like you guys build chemistry off the bat. Being away from the stage a lot as of late, Nicole, how are you keeping up your guitar chops these days? Is that affecting your musicianship? Has anything changed for your routine wise lately, if at all?
Oh, I've been away from the stage, so to say, for a while now. So, I mean, it's not even a thing for me, because I'm constantly writing and creating content, so I'm always like learning new things. And then like, being away from the band this summer was kind of like, that was the shittiest thing, right? Because we had spent so much time writing this music and recording, mixing, mastering, practicing together, getting ready for our first shows. And then our first show was supposed to be March 14th. And then we had 2 more scheduled after that. And all of those got canceled, obviously. It was right at the beginning of lockdown. So, we spent all this time like getting our chops up together as a band, and really like kind of for nothing, right? Maybe to practice for the music video shoot or like some extra content playthroughs. But other than that, Zachy and I were writing over FaceTime over the summer. So we were kind of like, exchanging riffs and teaching each other things. And then I would send him DIs. And that's how we've actually been writing for the full length for next year. So
Okay,
we're
yeah.
trying to be a step ahead now.
Yeah, and making the best of the situation is definitely what you guys are doing. It was definitely shitty for like everybody too. Like I don't know what it was like for you. I was at a show every week before the lockdown, and I haven't been to a show in like what 6, 7 months. I haven't been to a movie in 6, 7 months. I don't want to say this is new norm, but it's like we're reaching the end of 2020, and I can't believe I'm even like telling you that. So, but you guys are still making music. At least
I know,
that part is
crazy.
important.
So glad that, of course, yeah, that's the important part. And with that being said, like I wasn't going to shows for a long time, and I'm so glad that the last show that I did see was Opeth. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, that was a good way to go out.
yeah, I saw Opeth in February actually when they were doing that tour for I think they were with Graveyard. I don't know if that was the same tour.
They were just alone when I saw them, but it was around that time. It was in February.
And I know Nicole, you've been touring since you were 18, so I want to talk about that. How was the touring life for you personally? Because you've done some extensive touring, whether it's with well, maybe not as much with Kallias, but We Start Wars, Ira Haze, Meridiem, and it's kind of you're taking like an unseen step back. And does it make you have a growing appreciation of the touring life? Because we're talking culture, fans, even the food. There's just so many things to pick apart about the touring life, what makes it amazing. What was your favorite part about it now that we're here at our point in our lives?
Yeah, I haven't done any extensive touring in years now. The previous bands that I was in, we played a lot of shows and everything, but I was mostly touring full time for like maybe 4 years with hardcore bands. And and that's kind of started when I was like 18, 19. And a lot of that stuff was really like DIY tours. Like, I mean, the one world tour that I did, I booked myself, and I was like, I was like 23, 24 years old. Yeah, very, very DIY. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. It was
Yeah.
one of the things where like we wrote and recorded a full length record and booked like a 3-month long world tour and got everything done. And then we were touring for a few years after that, like in the US and Europe and everything, and really just booking everything ourselves.
Yeah, well, you did that. Now you can say you did that, and now you took that experience, and now you can maybe plug it into the future. You know,
Yeah.
a very popular topic on this show for the last 6 months, and you've seen this, and a
Mm,
lot of the bands have been doing it, is live streaming. Bands, what
yes.
they're doing on stage, they're taking to the screen, like we're doing, talking right now. Lamb of God did it. Code Orange were one of the first bands to do it. I think like 2 days after lockdown, they did that.
I saw that.
They did
Yeah.
that concert in an empty venue, streamed it for the fans. We've had Insomnium on the show, and Nilo was telling me about his experience on selling virtual tickets to the fans
Yeah.
online and then pre-recording it. August Burns Res doing one at the end of this week. So I wanted to ask, with all the experience you've taken in, with all the connections you've made throughout your career, does this pandemic that we're in, do you think this quarantine-induced live streaming surge we're seeing right now from all these bands, is that going to affect the touring musician business going forward through your eyes? Do you still see bands doing this even after all this is over?
Mm, I don't really think so. I feel like once this is over, like people are going to be itching to like be in front of live music. I think
Yeah.
everyone's going to kind of be tired of like staring at their screens, because that's all we're doing right now is like, oh, we got to push out all this content and we got to prepare for a live stream and videos and playthroughs and this and that. It's like, oh my god, it's like it's oversaturated as it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think when shows come back, I think like there's going to be this new appreciation for live music. I mean, I hope that there's going to be a new appreciation for live music. Because I mean, I'll admit, I've gotten so caught up in my own world to where like I kind of pushed live shows to the side for a while because I was so busy writing and just focusing on being in the studio. And you know, that's fine to take a break after a while, but then now I'm like, oh my God, like I can't wait for shows to start up again, to even just go to a show and play a show and all that.
You know what I did? I don't know if you knew about this. 2 months ago, Metallica did this not live streaming. They did the pre-recorded show and they
Yeah.
streamed it for the States. Dallas sold out immediately. So luckily a friend of mine got a ticket and I was like, okay, sure, I'll go. I mean, believe it or not, that was my first ever Metallica experience. I know someone like me who's been to so many shows. How have you not seen Metallica yet in your life? So I went, and it just made me miss the live experience even more. And what's the most popular thing we hear for metal bands? Oh, let me see your horns, you know, and you see just a sea of horns of the crowd. Like
Yeah.
it's, you get that high when you see that. Instead,
Yeah.
what do we get? We got, hey, let me hear you guys honk your horns. So if you like roll down your window, you just hear just a sea of cars just honking their horns, like just in the middle of the night in this desert. And it was just so crazy. It was great. You got to see other fans. If it had that vibe of a live experience, but
Mhm.
once you're actually looking at a screen, it's like, okay, what station, and you know, everything else in between kind of just fell into place. But anyway, I digress. That's definitely trying to make the best of the situation. Metallica did that, you know, and of course we talked about the other bands that have done it, but that's something to keep in mind. I mean, if who knows how long this will continue, God forbid it, you know, it stops. Hopefully it stops really really soon, because it does make me miss, you know, the live experience even more. So I don't know if you had a chance to see any of those things yet.
No, I haven't. But you know, I do realize that, I mean, it is a possibility that, you know, this is going to be going on for longer than we want, obviously. And we're just going to have to conform as artists, you know, if we want to
Definitely.
survive throughout all this, like with the live streaming, or whether it's going to be drive-in shows or just venue capacities, like, you know, being at half or whatever it is, just being at a show with your mask on. It's like, this might just be the new thing for a while.
Oh man, it was so bizarre. Like, just of course, Texas is just like on its head right now because we never know what phase we're in anymore. Ironically enough,
Yeah.
the fourth phase. You know, your new EP.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fourth phase. I know we covered everything from head to toe. The new EP came out October 30th on all streaming platforms. You know, between Foes and Metempsychosis, Black Dream, and the fourth phase, the title track, and that features Rick Graham. Man, for me, considering you talk about Opeth, I mean, you know, I grew up listening to bands like that, you know, Meshuggah, Decapitated, and it was so cerebral for me. It was such an emotional experience, which is that's not the norm for someone like me to say, considering you guys are an instrumental band. And that's a little different because the technicality
Yeah.
of the cleans and the progressions, it was blended so well. And as far as progressive death metal, for me, that's as good as it gets. And you know what I heard? Chemistry. And that's exactly what you guys had between the four of you. And you know, I know you guys take,
Thank
you know,
you.
you and Zachy take your influence, you know, from Jeff Loomis, Michael from Opeth, you know, Friedrich Dordendahl, and like the bands I just mentioned. How much did things change, if at all, from when you first started composing on this EP to where you ended up finishing it? Did a lot change in between? Did nothing change in between? Was there already a specific sound you guys knew you wanted with the fourth phase?
So the fourth phase was really the first song we wrote organically as a band. So the other three songs were kind of brought in and embellished by everybody. So Zachy had some
Hmm.
things he was working on, he brought in, and I had, you know, a song or two I was working on that I brought in, and had some riffs. And the fourth song, which ended up being called the fourth phase,
Yeah,
was really when we all came together and we're like, you know what, this is really going to be the true sound of the band. I mean, everything else, like, kind, you know, that's the song that really ties it together. So that's why we named it that, and made it the title track, and we made it the single that we released, because we're like, you know, this is really going to be the direction that we're going in. And all the other songs is kind of a mesh of like my style and Zachy's style, and you know, you hear like what everybody has going on. But really, I think you're going to start to hear more of like what we're going for in the upcoming record for next year. So that's where things are really going to be changing.
We're talking about the fourth phase. I didn't even think about this now. It's so ironic. Like the phase is
Yeah.
going on in the United States. I don't know if that crossed your mind too. That's so ironic that
It was funny. That was coincidence when this year we're like, oh, maybe we should do some sort of marketing thing when the fourth phase comes out
Oh
and
my
use our
gosh.
song. And I'm like, yeah.
Man, yeah, I'll endorse it for sure. And it was recorded and mixed and mastered by Zachy also at Redshift Recording. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Was there?
Yes.
I'm assuming there'd be a sense of comfortability in the studio for you guys, knowing that Zachy was at the helm, putting everything
Oh,
together.
absolutely. Because I mean, Zachy, he's not only is he an engineer, but he's also a drummer, and he's also a really sick drummer. But
Oh
he went to
yeah.
school for guitar and music, theory, composition. So he's just a very musical person and very well rounded, and he has a great ear. And that studio is our home, like for Kallias. That was like our birthplace, and then everything we're writing. It's been very efficient process for us, and being able to have that there. The drums are always mic'd up. We can record DIs. We have an array of amps to choose from to reamp things, and everything. Everything is just there for us. So the comfort level is awesome. Writing and just being in the same room all the time.
Yeah, that is very important. Let's talk about that music video, Black Dream. Okay, as a sci-fi fan, you guys hit it home for someone like me. Now
Yeah.
you guys did talk about that video slash song, wanting to transcend different emotions, that vibes within one song and video. And you guys did describe it as an alien abduction or night terrors that abductees claim to experience, even though you guys also said you wanted to leave it for interpretation. And for an instrumental band, which is different than a band having a vocalist. So, Nicole, also, I'm going to point out to my listeners, Kallias means beauty in Greek. Nicole, I want to ask, to what level do you like to have a theme for your music, and how important are themes to you guys? Is that more about helping you guys write or sound, or is that more for the audience? Because a lot of artists, they don't really care about themes. They just do 10 songs in the studio and that's it. But I felt like with Kallias, there's a specific dilemma you guys wanted to reach with the fourth phase.
Yeah, I think it's definitely both, because with instrumental music, we definitely we're kind of following a thread and want to go off of like a vibe, right? There's
Mhm.
no traditional structure that we're going for, like we kind of write part by part. And then if we feel like, okay, like this is getting really busy, maybe we should open things up and like, you know, take this somewhere else, take the listener somewhere else. Cause it's like a story, right?
Mhm.
Start to finish, and you kind of want everything to come full circle. So, with Black, it's always hard to think of names for instrumental bands. We're like, I don't know, it's kind of like a darkish vibe and this and that. And then, it came up with that name. And then when we thought of the music video, I'm like, okay, let me try to think of, what kind of visuals do I get? We're all kind of sci-fi nerds too. And I had this, and I'm a huge like X-Files fan back in the day, right?
Oh
So
my
I'm like, what
gosh.
if we do
We're,
something
we're,
with like,
we're going to have a separate episode just talking about movies if you're going to bring all this
yes,
up.
right? We can have an X-Files episode. So I thought, like, what if we do something like weird, really weird alien abduction, like with like, the black oil episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do any sort of storyline, because I don't know, it's like it's instrumental, and I can't think of anything storyline related that's creative. That's just not me. So I thought of visuals, and I told Kurt, our videographer at Serious Cinema, I have this idea to kind of just cover ourselves in this like black ooze and make it really weird and have all these hands coming out and touching us, and like, really cool like effects and everything. And he's like, okay, I think I can, put together something like that for you. And he ended up building this closet and painted it black. And then he drilled some holes in it for people to stick their hands in. And he put a light overhead. And then, that's where we started getting messy, right? And the rest of the guys in the band like really had no idea like that this was going to happen. So, I kind of told them, the hint I gave was like, yeah, we're gonna get messy, and at some point we're gonna be covered in this like black paint, black ooze or whatever. So they're like, okay, whatever, sounds cool. And then we got there and we're like, okay, like all these hands going to be coming out on all of us and getting, you know, touching our face and our mouth, and it's going to get kind of gross. And we ended up having so much fun with it. And the
Yeah.
end result, like we're looking back and we're like, this is like a little uncomfortable to watch at times. Like it's a little weird, but I like that, you know, like I kind of want to make people like a little bit uncomfortable and looking at it like that's kind of gross. Like what's that stuff coming out of their mouth? And like, you know, it's
Hey,
a little bit of a shock value, right?
hey, if I may, I mean, and think about everything you're saying. This is your first music video with, you know, as a
Yeah.
collective unit. Now think about what'll happen, you know, down the road. You got me excited. You know, I'm already excited for the future for you guys. But as far as like the visual representation and live music, oh my gosh, can you imagine? I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there,
Yeah.
like as far as a live presentation, and now people will understand. Oh my gosh, okay, this is who they are. This is what they want to show about themselves. Like, I mean, as sci-fi, that's as good as it gets. And
Yeah.
I want to jump into something else that's very important. And, you know, this past summer, Nicole, you joined the roster of a very prominent guitar establishment, Jackson Guitars, and some of the
Yeah.
more notable musicians that stand alongside you are of that said roster are Dave Ellefson, Marty Friedman, Phil Demmel, Gus G, who we talked about, he was on the show, great individual, Scott Ian, Jeff Loomis. I mean, the list goes on. So, Nicole, you know, what is the most rewarding part for someone like you who is now at this point in their career and at the same time has been involved with so many other different talented bands, artists, individuals throughout that timeline? Did all that play a part in helping you grow as an artist?
Absolutely. I'm still like in shock and just so grateful to be a part of such an iconic brand of guitars. So for me, I feel like that's an accomplishment in itself. I'm just like, wow, like does this mean like I made it? But yeah, it's really, really cool. And you know, I kind of already felt like I was part of the family because um, I was with EVH amps. And you know that came about when you know I was playing with Nita Strauss and We Start Wars, and that's when my rep Mike Tempesta got a hold of me and you know offered me you know the deal with EVH. And I had been playing Mesa for like 10 years, so I wasn't even looking to really like switch companies or anything, but he invited me to the shop and I played on the amp and I was like instantly convinced. I was like, dang, this sounds really mean, like on an 8-string guitar, like everything sounds so tight, and that's the sound that I want. It was kind of I feel like my stepping stone to really to make that switch to Jackson as well and really be part of the family. And Mike has like been such an amazing rep. Like the things he's done for me, I'll be forever grateful for, especially because I even though I've been doing this for so long, I'm still a small artist. So, you know, I'm putting in the work and I'm doing everything I can to promote my band and also promote all these brands and companies that I believe in and that you know have shown me so much love and believe in me and have been promoting my music over the years.
That just tells me that you're showing dedication to your craft, and everyone's got to
Yeah,
start somewhere, and you've got a long way to get to this point, and you've achieved so much. And yeah, hell yeah, I would belt all this out. I play for Jackson Guitars. You know, it's definitely, I know it's the challenging thing is of course to stay humble, especially in a year like this year. But you
of
know, you've
course.
accomplished so much in a year where a lot of people are struggling, and it's definitely something to take a hold of. And you know, that's just my opinion out of a million people, but I feel like you have come a long way to get to where you wanted to get, and you've achieved a lot. Do you see like all this, you know, do you see this as like a snapshot of where you are at a certain time in your life? You know, you can tie the fourth phase into this too, you know. And I like to ask this question because it's easy to look back on a song like the fourth phase or an EP like the fourth phase. You're signing with Jackson, your collaborations with all these incredible musicians, even yourself, you know. It's easy to look back on this and be like, oh, this was the pandemic album. Oh, this happened during the pandemic years. It's so easy to say that. But the way I see it, it allowed us, you know, people like you and me, people like other people that I've had on this show, amazing guests, it allowed us a chance to grow. You know, that's another way to look at it. It's so easy to be negative, but as far as being positive, I definitely encourage people to do that. And I feel like you would have that same feeling, right? Like you've achieved so
I
much,
do.
you take the positive out of this entire year.
Yeah, it's definitely a time to grow and reevaluate, and I think it's like that for a lot of people right now. I understand like a lot of people going through some really hard times right now, and losing their businesses and losing income, and like I'm one of those people. My industry is shut down too. Like I was working in
Yeah.
entertainment, so but at the same time, it's like I feel like this year has also given people the time to reevaluate and reinvent themselves, and maybe focus a little bit more on something that like they kind of pushed to the side before. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, right now, like I'm not working, so it's like I'm going to put everything that I'm doing into my music until I am working again. And
Right.
and hopefully that can get me a little bit ahead in what I need to do and for the band and all that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's gonna tie it into the interviews we do in person. Bring those vegan
Yeah.
cauliflowers out there. Anyway, that's gonna be a whole different conversation. Whether it's with Kallias or Ira Haze or Meridiem or We Start Wars, and that includes your collaboration with Nita Strauss. Have your aspirations as a person or even as a band, have they changed or evolved since when you first started playing in the industry? Do you see things differently now?
I definitely feel a bit wiser, but I feel like the end goal is always the same. Like we're doing this because it makes us so happy, and personally, I can't imagine doing anything else or putting all my energy into anything else. Music has always been number one for me, and everything else kind of just follows that, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like, jamming with all these different players, I've learned so much over the years, and just even developed new skills, and learned a lot with technology and how to market yourself online, creating content. Like I'm always looking to improve, and I'll still always consider myself a student when it comes to that. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to learn and keep up with things, and, and with music as well.
And the way I see it is you're never too old to learn a lesson, and it gives you a chance to grow each
Of
and every
course.
year. As cliche as that sounds, man, I can't beat that far enough because that's so true. And I wouldn't have I mean, I was the shyest kid like 10 years ago. I wouldn't be able to carry a conversation like this. And now, I'm doing what I love with a passion. Another thing I want to tie into that, if you weren't a musician, has this ever crossed your mind, Nicole? If you weren't a musician, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe if I didn't get into music, I would probably have finished my biochemistry degree and been like,
Yeah,
yeah, I was into like science and stuff.
I like asking that question. There's no right or wrong answer to this, obviously, because it's always interesting to hear that perspective. Some artists would be like, "Oh, I would never be involved. I would find a way to be involved in music one way or another." Listen, I grew up with engineering degree, and my mom is a musician. She's a music artist, and both of my brothers are musicians. And I come from a music family. I think it's crazy how things kind of just line up the further you are into your life. And here we are, and that's how we connected. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
Now, one last question. I'm going to finish things off here. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but 5 favorite albums you can think of at the top of your head.
Oh, okay.
At the top of your head.
I will say Meshuggah, Destroy, Erase, Improve.
Awesome.
Um, Nile, Annihilation of the Wicked.
Awesome. Okay.
Um, let's do Pantera, Cowboys from Hell.
I'm from Texas. That's a given.
um, Opeth. I don't know how to choose
Wait,
one
wait,
record.
wait, 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 wait. Before you answer that, because I have a favorite Opeth record too. Okay, I'm gonna count down, and we're gonna say our favorite Opeth record. You ready? You got it.
Uh,
You got it. You ready?
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ghost
Blackwater Park.
Referees.
That was gonna be my other one. I swear that was gonna be my other one.
That's
I was
my
like,
that's
just
my
Blackwater Park.
that's my second favorite, actually, Blackwater Park, because it took me forever to nail that between Ghost Referees and Blackwater Park. Because Ghost Referees, the first song I heard on there was Baying of the Hounds, and that just blew me away, and that kind of just took me by surprise. But anyway, your fifth one, that's pretty funny how it's like reversed.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of go a little bit far left with my fifth one and say Porcupine Tree, Light Bulb
Oh,
Sun. Yeah.
wow. Wow, I haven't heard that in a while, actually. Porcupine. That's a very unconventional choice, and I like that you said that because that actually shows
Yes.
how diverse your music catalog is, where you get your influences from. And
Yeah. Well,
um,
Opeth, Porcupine Tree, Steve Wilson.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
By the way, on a side note, today's Chaos Fear's like birthday or something like that. I don't know. I think
Oh,
Revolver
is it?
Mag. Yeah, it is. And Chaos Fear is the first Meshuggah album I heard, and Meshuggah is still just, it's one of those like I
Yeah.
can't even begin to describe it, but you guys are definitely like caught my ear when it comes to that. But Nicole, this has been a pleasure, man. I can't wait till we do this in person. Obviously, I would love to have you and Zachy, JP, and Chris like all together do this. Love to do that Wings interview. Not Wings, but you know what I'm talking about, like the cauliflower wings and
Yeah.
all that stuff we're talking about before the interview started. But
Yes.
do you have any like last words, any shout outs? Is anything you want to mention to the fans who are listening that maybe Kallias has coming forward in the future?
Yeah, just keep a lookout because we're gonna have some new music in the spring. And we also have a lot of content coming out right now, as far as playthroughs and everything. We got a playthrough out with Jackson. We're going to have another one coming out with Gear Gods, some stuff with Sick Drummer, Warwick. So just keep an eye
Oh
out for all of
man.
that, and check out the EP on whatever platform you guys listen to. And we also have some merch for sale at kalliasofficial.com.
And everyone who's listening, buy the merch. I cannot stress that anymore because the
Yes,
bands can't do it without the fans. I still have a record like that corner, like on the opposite end of my room. I just have records just piling up that I bought this year. I still buy records. I just bought a cassette. I just bought a cassette from a band called the Arson Choir, and it was just something that it's nice. It's a nice throwback. It's crazy how cassettes are coming back. But everyone's listening, buy the merch, and these bands will be on the road as soon as Nicole from Kallias, thank you so much for bottom of my heart. Please be safe out there, and we'll do this again in the future. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. It's great talking to you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. And also, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can find us at Interview Under Fire at Facebook or at Instagram. Or you can write us directly at schwag@interviewunderfire.com. That's SCHWAG at interviewunderfire.com. Or Rezablade, that's REZABLADE at interviewunderfire.